Hi everyone, and welcome to this webinar organized by WeUni in partnership with OPIT, Open Institute of Technology. My name is Carolina, nice to meet you all, and I'll be your host for today's event on behalf of WeUni. So I see here that the first people are already starting to join in. We're going to wait just a couple of minutes before starting to allow everyone to connect. In the meantime, feel free to say hi on our chat here on Zoom and please tell us where you're from since we are very curious. So, first of all, I want to thank everyone for joining us, of course, and thank our panelists for being here with us today. As you can see here, I'm not alone. I want to introduce you all to Professor Francesco Derchi, Chair in Digital Business at OPIT.
Hello.
Roberto Mario De Stefano, professor at OPIT, and Greta Maiocchi, head of marketing and admissions at OPIT. Welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Hello and welcome everybody.
Today, you are going to explore a real case study on how technology and fresh thinking are reshaping what success looks like in business beyond profit. So with ReGENERATION Lab, you will discover how connecting technologies such AI, IoT, and material science to key sectors can regenerate the natural and social capital of an organization. Of course, you also have the possibility to interact with our speakers here and ask them questions. So talking about that, I'd like to remind you that after presentation, we will have a Q&A session in which you'll be able to ask direct questions to the panelists. So don't be shy and just type all of your questions in the Q&A section here on Zoom, and we'll go for them at the end of the webinar. Also, for those of you interested in receiving a certificate of attendance by WeUni for this free masterclass, stay tuned because we will post a link to get the certificate at the end of the session. I see some other people joining. Welcome to all of you. As I said, we are here with OPIT, Open Institute of Technology. I see some messages here in the chat from Croatia, from Ecuador. So welcome, so many people from so many different countries. It's a pleasure to have you here. I think that without further ado, I can now leave the floor to Greta for the introduction. So enjoy this webinar and see you later. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolina, and hello everybody from all over the world. So as Carolina said, today we're going to hear about the ReGENERATION Lab. So how to redefine business and tech. So my name is Greta. I'm head of admissions and marketing at OPIT, and I'm here with Francesco, as we said, Francesco Derchi, a chair in digital business. So he's the promoter as well of our two programs, Bachelor and Master in Digital Business, and Roberto Mario De Stefano is like teaching with them, along with them at OPIT. Very briefly, I'm going to give you an introduction of OPIT, leave the floor to them, and then if we have time after your Q&A, I'm going to just give you a little bit of overview of our programs and how to apply. Otherwise, if we do not have time, I'm going to leave you my contacts and we can chat later. So about OPIT, we are an institution that has a specific mission, which is to unlock progress and employment on a global scale by providing what is top quality, so Q1, and affordable education in the specific field of technology. And why technology? Because technology is transforming the world of business. And today we're going to see how and what that can be done with a purpose as well. What sets us apart? We are like an institution that is offering degrees, Bachelor and Master of Science degree online, flexible and fully online, accredited and recognized in Europe, in the United States and far beyond. We are focused, as I said, on technology, and all our programs have been designed for companies, with companies, so they are career aligned, very modern. The education and what we bring to class is what is required today to fulfill a career and the different type of sectors where technology is actually applied. This support that you will receive, despite the fact that we're online, is always available. So you have support from professors, from tutors 7 days a week. We have also now the co-pilot that will support you like every single hour of the year. And we have also mentors, the career service, the coordinator. So you're just within an organization that will follow you during your entire degree. And finally, we're inclusive and affordable. Being online means also that you can just save some money but find a job as well at the end with our career service. One of our key strengths is the faculty. And we have professors coming from different institutions, professors coming from companies. So we just mix academician with professionals that bring to class their expertise, their research, everything that you see as a grounded, well-grounded, established knowledge coming from either business cases or research cases. And today is going to be an example as well. So without any further ado, I'm going to leave it to Francesco, our chair in digital business, and Roberto Mario, for Professor at OPIT, about the ReGENERATION Lab, so how tech can redefine business.
Hello, hello. Good afternoon and good morning, everyone. Welcome to the session. It's a pleasure to see so many people connected from all over the world. I see Croatia, Ecuador, Bolivia. Let me start by sharing my screen briefly. And I would also like to introduce next to me my colleague, Professor De Stefano. Together with Professor De Stefano, we decided to launch a laboratory, a research lab called ReGENERATION Lab. I will not talk too much about it, but very briefly, the idea behind it is that we, as a business experts and a researcher, we noticed what we call a silent and what is going on? There you go. A silent and constant revolution where more and more organizations, firms, and companies are realizing the importance of the impact they have over the environment around them. And this is something that somehow is not very loud. It's not about creating great statements and moving billions of people. So, at the same time, still, it's about making facts and actions that are changing the world. So today we're going to introduce you a few stories of companies that are having this specific act. We do not go through the traditional piece of great success. We're going to explore unexplored territories of silent and constant revolution. The first 10-15 minutes that you will spend with me, I'm going to introduce you the story of a company called Replanet Energy, which is a company operating in the space of renewable energies overall and clean energy management, let's say, in a broader way. And next to that, my colleague De Stefano will explore other case studies. So we will start by talking about Replanet Energy, and in particular by exploring with you some theory that led us to pick this case study and moving forward into his own development. So the project that I'm going to explain to you has been also presented last week at the European Management Academy in Florence. And of course, this is myself, Francesco Derchi. I am the chair of digital business here at OPIT. I would like also to add to this presentation the fact that you can easily imagine this being a standard type of class at OPIT, where we are able to match simulation scenarios, real case studies, together with some interaction with you as students. So let's get cracking. I would like to introduce the topic of corporate purpose, which is something that leads above the topic of regeneration. Because in fact, we are living and unavoidably living in a setting, in a market that follows a growing social environmental pressure, poverty, environmental degradation. There are so many cases of environmental suffering that we cannot even mention one as much. And still, at the same time, as exciting as it, a great major technological disruption. If you think about the development of artificial intelligence being one, next to 3D printing, and how all these paradigmatic technologies can change the entire setting around us. So in this specific business landscape, there are two main concepts that we are inspired by, that we are exploring. The first is the fact that companies slowly feel the need to define their own sense of being. And so we talk about corporate purpose being a statement that captures the essence of the existence of an organization. And so, for example, it explains why the company exists, what is the company made for, being inspirational in this way. And also, it is often used from a marketing perspective, from a communication perspective, as a tool for identification towards stakeholders. At the same time, when we look at digital native companies, so companies that are born in the digital age, we find a specific type of purpose that we call massive transformative purpose. The characteristics of this purpose are being massive, meaning that it touches and inspired by abundance, the market abundance overall, so new data, participation, great engagement. And next to this, there is also a topic related to transformation. So this purpose must be transformative. It must explain and define a specific tension toward the realization of this purpose. Eventually not even happening, but still able to change and transform the people that are exposed to this. As an example of a massive transformative purpose, we can use the great case of Airbnb's statement, belong anywhere. It's clear that you can travel the world through Airbnb by using Airbnb, but it's not possible to believe that you can really belong in every part of the world. However, this statement is so strong and well explained in the company's coherent life, managerial life, that it is still renewed every time. And so a lot of people are really using this payoff for engaging with the company for longer term. So next to the topic of corporate purpose, I would like now to explain you what is regeneration. So regeneration for us is, first of all, something that is complementary to the concept of sustainability and circularity. Sustainability, it is often considered as the activity that companies do to compensate for their own externalities, for the damage they do in the world. And so, for example, companies invest in their community around them because the factory that they have is ultimately also polluting the environment around. So they feel like they need to give back to compensate what is going on. And at the same time, circularity or circular economy, if you want, is a concept that has to do with achieving a position of net zero. So aiming at being as possible as no impacting the environment next to you. That's why you want to reuse materials. You try to maximize your, to minimize your waste, so maximize the use of all the matter that is part of your supply chain. Instead, regeneration has another concept. It's about being net positive, which means leaving more than what is taken in the entire socio-ecological system. So typically, it means that the environment and the world is not up for being disrupted by companies, rather than companies should give something constantly and leaving more on planet than what they have taken. So if we're talking about collecting and taking profits, next to that, the company should be involved in doing more. And so next to this, we talk about regenerative business model. What does a regenerative business model is? I am then explaining to you in detail the story of a company, and we will explore what a regenerative model is. But overall, having a regenerative business model means recognizing that nature is irreplaceable foundation of human health and well-being. So the role of nature in the ecosystem is very important. Human societies are deeply embedded in the biosphere. So again, humans in nature is a big sense of responsibility. And finally, that companies depend on the health of the biosphere for their own health. So it's a sense of responsibility and acknowledgement of what the company should do in the world. Next to this, we identify 6 specific strategies that are treated by different scholars that are actually manifesting the regenerational approach. These regenerative strategies are the regenerative leadership, nature and social regeneration, responsible sustainability, health and well-being, and finally, the last one is related to the employees. So next to that, I would like to open up the focus on the company that we have studied and what is the company up to. So we're talking about a company funded in 2015 by an engineer, Kevin Praticò, which is dedicated to design and implementation of renewable energy. So you should imagine the fact that with this great evolution of technologies, especially energy technologies, we see more and more companies, firms, product plants that are in need for reviewing their own energy system, either for optimizing their value overall, or eventually for maximizing with the new technologies. So to bringing the level of consumption to the lowest and the maximum using renewable energies. So this idea involves, for example, monitoring, modernizing, and auditing production plants, charging station with electronic vehicles, EV, or implementing sustainable construction. So the space is pretty broad. What we found a company, when we approached the company the first time, we found an entrepreneur that was extremely clear, had a very clear vision about what it was doing, and also extremely aware of the importance of technologies to achieve the results they wanted to do. So the great awareness of the person was combined next to a set of values, a very important point. So these values were related to the sensitivity towards the environment, understanding that the role of the environment is very important, and understanding that the role of the person in the environment is as important. The company was ranked as 21st among all Italian companies for its fastest growth. So it was a prime in terms of business performance, and with a specific revenues around 3 million in general, with an exponential growth overall as a pattern. So what did we do? When we met with the entrepreneur, we decided to progress with an exponential transformation path together. So we helped the company to transform into the setting that was the best suitable setting for an exponential growth. And next to that, the first thing that we wanted to do was exactly to define the massive transformative purpose. So the company had this set of values, but ultimately it was through our work that we gained into the MTP enabling regeneration. So what does enabling regeneration mean? There is an acknowledgement about the fact that the technologies that are part of the business are by nature related to clean tech. So they are clean technologies per se. So this could be letting into regeneration overall. But the attention that has been taken was also very much related to the world of enabling, because enabling means that regeneration is not just an external factor, it's not just an external event, rather than it is something that you can facilitate happening. So the role that the company got and claimed by defining the purpose, by defining the MTP, was exactly the one to feel responsible for creating regeneration in the world. So to become the enabler of regeneration. So the company said, we want to be considered as a technology themselves, an enabler. We create regeneration. So this purpose is clearly a critical driver, because they manage to have a positive impact and at the same time to inspire change in the system overall. So what did we do? We had a specific qualitative exploratory study with the company. The study is also called action research per se, or participatory research, which involves the fact that we have been part of the change together with the company. We helped the company to change. And at the same time, we had an ethnographic approach. So we studied by spending a lot of time within the company setting with the CEO's family. Together, we spent a lot of time with all the employees of the company. We assisted to some meetings, which all gave us the possibility to observe the company and how the company really expressed their own culture. So the idea of fitting into the culture of the company allowed us exactly to enter in this participatory observation that could eventually lead us to collect thick data. Thick data means that they're not just information, they are events that are full of meaning. So around this meaning, we manage to identify a proper logic. So this is the level, the number of different type of moments that we had the opportunity to involve in all these moments. And then eventually, this is exactly the regenerative business model that we managed to identify. So we can say that Replane has a regenerative business model because, first of all, they have identified and made very explicit their own purpose, enabling regeneration. Next to that, there are two main areas that are very important. On one side, we see the Replanet being able to make regeneration happening by engaging multiple suppliers, no matter which type of supplier, from a technical machinery supplier perspective to a consultant, they all should pass this sort of psychological and values alignment, which make the people be ready to participate in this movement. So they really treat their network of suppliers as friends, not simply as business partners. Next to that, there is a very strong sense of ownership, which is driven by the figure of the entrepreneur, Mr. Pratico. Next to him, also the family is very involved into this, and all other people that are at somehow level involved into the leadership. Then we have, for sure, an area dedicated to regeneration. This is also somehow redundant because the purpose itself is enabling regeneration. So regeneration is in the purpose, but is also one of the parts that defines the regenerative business model. And this is clearly related to the fact that the entrepreneur, he wants to work with clean tech. He wants to explore the best technologies in order to exploit clean technologies for impacting the world. And next to that, there is a very strong sense of impact. Impact, which is eventually divided in two parts that I'm going to explain to you in the next slide. And so here we see that the process that we had to involve the company started with the formation of the vision, codifying the purpose, the implementation of a strategic path that led the sprint to define the MTP. Next to this, we could observe a growth acceleration, a very meaningful growth acceleration, exponential acceleration, and finally, an ongoing impact. So when we talk about the type of impact overall, I wanted to just identify that we have been able to frame 6 specific regenerative strategies led by Replanet. First of all, when we talk about regenerative leadership, the role of the entrepreneur has been key, for example, in deciding to engage with Azione Verde NGO and to start financing operations in Nigeria. Azione Verde, as an NGO, they have a site in Nigeria where they created an hospital, a school, and a sports center. And all of this infrastructure, they needed energy. They needed autonomy from an energetic perspective compared to what the public system, the public network could deliver. And so we have a specific generative leadership because Kevin Praticò, the engineer, left Italy with 5-6 of his employees, and they flew to Nigeria to invest their time, the company time, to create a specific system to provide energy independence because of the renewable solar and heat pump to be applied to the hospital and the school to provide the people independence from the traditional national network. Next to that, we see that nature and social regeneration are parts of what I've been explaining to you. We have responsible sourcing, so the linkage between the type of community and these great initiatives, they are sustained, for instance, by the fact that the suppliers themselves of Replanet, they decided to support such strong regenerative leadership, and as a response, they provided free materials, free solar panels, free cables, free batteries to be plugged into the university and hospitals in Nigeria. So that all created a virtuous network of specific valuable actions. And finally, focus on human health and well-being was clearly the impact of these operations in Nigeria. And lately, the focus of employees could be taken from multiple angles, but I really like the idea, the fact that the company decided to start operating with an agile methodology, which allowed overall the entire company to be more decentralized and more impactful. So how to finish? What are the four main elements that we could learn from to move forward? First of all, we see that the MTP, the purpose being the core engine of the entire organization. Despite having been framed only in the 8th year of the life of the company, eventually it is what really influences every strategy from the entire company. Then, very interesting, as a second point, the growth and purpose, they can coexist. This is also something very interesting from the global discussion that purpose and profit should be one versus the other, right? In this case, we found that those can be really coexist together. The third layer is related to this methodology. So we can work and support companies in evolving the right methodology that could allow employees to participate in the definition of purpose. And finally, very much so, technology is considered a regenerative enabler. And this is also very important because it justifies ultimately all the different investments if the purpose is the one that lead the progress forward. Thank you very much. This is all for the first part for me. And so after having explained some interesting edge coming from the planet, I am passing my mic to my colleague, Roberto De Stefano, Professor De Stefano, for a couple of other case studies.
So thank you very much, Francesco. Thank you very much for the presentation of regeneration, the presentation of a very interesting case, Planet, and for the, explaining the regenerative business model in their pillars, so very deep. So my task will be to explain you how regeneration acts in companies, how regeneration manifests itself in this kind of companies. And to do this, I will present you some cases taken from my PhD dissertation in 2025. And so I'm ready to share my screen. So first of all, I want to explain you the cases. So I will present you 4 different cases from 4 different industries. First of all, we have BioFarm. BioFarm is an Italian company, is a digital farm, is a digital farm that aims to protect and promote the small-scale agriculture. The main task, the main objective is to address the problem of agriculture, especially the information asymmetry, the quality of the products, the price, the unfair price taken on the burden of the farmer themselves. So for this reason, they have created a digital platform in which customers and farmers are in direct contact by using the platform provided by the BioFarm. So the business model is very simple and is based on creating a link between farmers and consumers to eliminate the intermediaries, so to eliminate the retail and the long traditional supply chain. So BioFarm operates both in B2C and B2B channels by offering tree adoption as a gift, is a symbolic adoption of this tree. And by using BioMarket, customers could purchase fruit and other products from fruit. They can follow the growth of the trees, the updates, the pictures provided by farmers as well. And is very useful for B2B, for companies, by offering a digital orchards. So companies could have a symbolic digital orchards to have some CSR initiatives or cup donation. So as you can see from the chart that I show you, the model is very simple, but is very intriguing as well. So it works in this way. So customers can buy products by BioFarm, but BioFarm, in terms of ownership and employees, must enable and train farmers. Enable in which sense and train in which sense? So they train farmers by improving their skills in agriculture, in agricultural technique, in selling technique, in e-commerce skills. So farmers nowadays they all have a website, they all have an e-commerce to be more free in the future. But farmers, they only think to pack and deliver fruits for customers. At the same way, beer farm must to educate and engage because, as you can see in the next slide, many of these companies have the task to act as a sort of activism. It's very similar to the approach of Patagonia, to be an activist of a challenge, an activist of a problem to address it. So in this case, Beer Farm wants to educate people to better improve the quality of their life, to better improve the quality of the food they purchase, the fruit they purchase, to educate people about the problem of the agricultural sector, agricultural industry. So for this reason, we can say that Beer Farm is an empowerment for farmers, but these farmers are heroic farmers because thanks to the use of this platform, they can increase their margins, their knowledge, and market opportunities as well. But regeneration in practice. So what does it mean, regeneration? Is to restore something that lose some characteristics, no? But regeneration could be explained in more perspective, not just the environmental one that is the most common, the most typical, and the most easy way to understand this complex phenomenon. First of all, is environmental. So BioFarm promotes organic farm, all the organic fruits, all the organic products. And BioFarm select the farmers they want to work with. And they select with a very rigid scheme, a very rigid pattern, and they sometimes control their practice. They control that they have all the organic products. And they also control that these farmers avoid the phenomenon of exploiting farmers, especially migrant farmers. So they don't want that have some problems with these farmers. So promotes organic farming, avoids the use of chemical pesticide, helping to regenerate the soil. So for this reason, we can say that the farmers are the guardians of the land, because most of these farmers, they live in places that have some problems about hydrogeological concern. So thanks to your farm project, they can continue their activities. By continuing their activities, they preserve the biodiversity, they improve the health of the soil, and they improve the quality of the life of the people that can buy their products. Also, by planting trees, they contribute to reduce CO2 emissions. Social and economical perspective. So I merge these two kind of perspectives because in this case are very similar. So the model guarantees to the farmer an increase in the income, more than 15% in relation to what farmers could gain by the retail. It's also useful to restore the dignity of this kind of job and enable to create new jobs because you create a new economy thanks to this project, and the farmers can try to hire new farmers. So they also collaborate with some cooperatives to promote the inclusion, the social inclusion, to reintegrate fragile and disadvantaged people, thanks to the leverage on this as a workforce. This is another very important perspective, the cultural and educational regeneration. So they offers ongoing training programs for farmers, as I told you before, and also educates consumers about healthier and more conscious eating, raising their awareness about the problems, about the quality of no-scale agriculture, about the information asymmetry of the sector. So switch to Rifo. Rifo is a textile company located in Tuscany, in Italy, in the city of Prato, in which there is a very important textile district, very famous since 50 and 60. So Rifo is a circular clothing brand. They reuse the textile, the garment that people waste. So they create new products from the waste. So they create 100% regenerated garment. But the very particular characteristics is the model that they create. So the production is 0 mile. It's entirely made in 30 kilometers from the headquarters and is made by some artisans that are called cenciaioli in Tuscany dialect. They perform a pre-sale model to avoid overconsumption and before overproduction and also overconsumption. So they produce only the dress that people order when they took this dress on a pre-sale. So if people order for 100 of white shirts, they produce 100 white shirts. If people order 200 t-shirts, they produce 200 t-shirts, no more, no one more, just to avoid the phenomenon of overconsumption, overproduction. So they are struggling about this bad phenomenon. They are struggling about new type of companies that produce, I don't want to say the name of the companies, but nowadays there are a lot of companies that work in this industry that they overproduce, especially from countries, developing countries. They overproduce and they produce a lot of waste in textile. So they also use e-commerce. That is the only channels that they use for selling. Rifo, so they manifest the regeneration in 3 different perspectives: environmental, socioeconomic, and cultural and education. So from an environmental standpoint, there is the recycling of material, such as cashmere, wool, denim. They reduce the water consumption, the energy, the CO2 emission, and also the pre-sale model that could regenerate the production itself, combating the overproduction, the main cause of the waste in fashion industry. So they revitalize the economy and the craft tradition of cenciaioli. Cenciaioli is they are artisans, they are craftsmen, very popular in Prato district. But nowadays, the number of cenciaioli is lowering. For this reason, they have revitalized this kind of job. So they promote the social inclusion of some disadvantaged people, such as migrants people or people who have a past in jail. So they try to put these people working with cenciaioli to have an heritage in the future, to learn this kind of a job, to have an heritage in the future to exploit for their future, to find a new job, to have new kind of knowledge in their life. So cultural and educational regeneration, as I told you before, many of these companies act as activists. So they use channel to spread the culture of conscious consumption, to educate people to avoid waste about textiles. So the third is Oggiair. It's another Italian company that have a digital platform in which people could buy some plastic that some fishermen can gather from the sea by using the technique of fishing for litter. So fishermen usually works to gather the fish, they also go out to gather plastic from the sea. So the business model is focused on fishing communities because thanks to this new kind of salary, your farm could increase the life, could better improve the life of these fishermen. So, but how it works? So, as I told you, fishermen collect waste during the trips out to the sea and rewarded for their contribution. And the process is tracked by blockchain technology. That is so important to track the progress, to track the plastic you gather. And so the people, the customers, could check if this kind of plastic was gathered or not. They offer for both channels, B2B and B2C. And this plastic later will be assembled, will be manufactured in another places. It's not internal, the production, to produce bottles, to produce shorts, to put into the market, to digital market. Regeneration in practice. You can see the huge amount of kilos that of waste that they collected, they get from the ocean, and which are the impact of the Agile works. So the action is direct. They physically remove waste from ecosystem. So you can see in practice the location in which Agile acts, and you can see the huge amount of plastic reduced to better improve the quality of tourism, to better improve the environment, to better improve the quality of life of the fish that usually eat this plastic, unfortunately. So it's a rebirth of biodiversity. And this kind of project usually acts in Indonesia and in Brazil, but even if the company is located in Italy. But they also have some project in the area of Emilia-Romagna, especially in Cesenatico. From a socioeconomic perspective, so they create an alternative source of income for communities of fishermen, and the remuneration doubled the remuneration of the fishermen. From a cultural perspective, so Agile promotes the indirect awareness by directly involving fishermen and showing the results of their work. So the last but not least case is Planit. Planit is a very important company located in Milan. They works to avoid food waste. Food waste is one of the main challenges of SDGs, is one of the main challenges since 60s. So they provide meal kit and ready meal dish by using all the organic ingredients. And they provide this for B2B and B2C market, especially for companies and for private school. Concerning B2C, they give the possibility to people to have their expenses about food to better improve their expenses, the food purchase. Why? Because they created a platform in which people can have a sort of path of their week in which they can put all the dishes that they want to do. And at the end of the day, they have also the company provide also some educational program about food made by some psychologists, by some nutritionists, in order to improve the quality of the food you purchase and you eat. So planning against waste. So users can plan the weekly meals by using a digital platform, and they allow Planit to purchase and deliver only the exact quantities of ingredients needed, eliminating household and supply chain waste. So the impact measurement, they use an algorithm to calculate and communicate the savings generated by each purchase in terms of food, CO2, water, and plastic. But this kind of algorithm is also a source of revenue because they sell this algorithm to restaurants, to flights, also to to the boat, to company boat, in order to measure the impact. So this is another source of revenues for planning. The impact, first of all, is from an environmental perspective. So it's a regenerative business model because they prevent food waste by addressing the cause and not just the effects. It's plastic-free model. They use compostable packaging in partnership with another company, Zero Impact, to have reusable containers. They are collected, sanitized, and returned to the cycle. From a socioeconomic perspective, regeneration, so they promote the hiring of people who work from they usually had a very complicated past, so they are ex-prisoner, they are fragile people, and they provide to these people long-term contracts. So no matter about their past, they want to give to these people an heritage for their future. It's not only an extemporary action, but is a long-term action to better improve the quality of the life of these people, and to give an heritage for the future, not only an extemporaneous action, as I said. From a cultural and educational perspective, they also play an education and transformative role toward consumers, so acting as a guide to change spending and consumption habits. The goal is to create more awareness, more conscious, healthy, and sustainable food culture. So I finished, and thanks for the participation and for the attention. Open for Q&A session.
Thank you very much, Roberto. This is very interesting, and I think it's as we can see, we have explored a few different perspectives. We have a lot of questions here for us. So there is I think we can start. Maybe we can just do back and forth between me and you and try to answer them. So the first one, does OPIT offer support for professional integration? Maybe this one we can leave out for Greta for the last few minutes to answer. Let's start with the first one, which is, what skills or mindset are essential for students or young professionals who want to work in a regenerative business? You want to answer, Roberto, or shall I go?
You can go.
Right. So I think that
we can talk about this.
But there are a lot of questions, so maybe we should. I just can give this answer to this, and you can take into the next one. Okay. So I think that the logic of regeneration, and so regenerative business models, is ultimately the most virtuous form so far of business that we can find. And so, for sure, in terms of skills, we need all the different skills that are there for business to be proficient. So we're talking about the hard skills, we're talking about soft skills. Okay. And so when it comes to cognitive or hard skills related to the specific type of critical thinking, all of them, they all are part of the discussion. But I think also that what defines a concept of regeneration business model is related to a specific sensitivity towards the environment, towards others. So the idea, the perception that you can compete and win through ecosystems instead of considering only the scarcity approach to the business. And so ultimately, what I would say probably is the most effective of all skills that should be taken into account is, as Adam Grant would say, to be a giver and not a taker. So a giver is someone that is able to understand that by giving, you create more value than by taking only. And that is a leadership skill overall, because it will ultimately inspire all actions, decisions, and so forth. Okay, I hope that that was a good answer already. Now, let's one for Roberto. What's one traditional business concept you believe is most in need of an upgrade today? What should be upgraded today?
Concerning what?
Over today. So in today's times, what is the business part that should be upgraded?
The business
And there is
partner
also another one, I guess, that you can also answer at the same time. What was the biggest challenge in moving a project from a profit first mentally to one focused on regenerating national and social capital?
Yes, this is very easy, is the purpose, to change the purpose of companies. So if you have a purpose focused on profit, you will do just a business about profit. If you have a double purpose, not only a purpose about social or environmental concern, because in this case you can run a non-profit model, no? If you have a double purpose, you can have a business that works for the well-being of the world and well-being of the people, well-being of the planet.
Thank you. Yes, yes.
So
And I also have
the question from Maria Pia Dominguez.
yes. Let me review them quickly because we don't have too much time, and I also want to pass the ball to Greta. But there is a good question: is how is a regenerative business model different from a sustainable one in practice?
Can I go?
You want to answer?
Okay.
Yeah, you can go.
Yeah, sustainable business model is focused on the reduction of the harm to aim to a net zero perspective, in line with the triple bottom line. So to have a balance between the dimension of profit, the dimension of social, and the dimension of environment. The perspective of the regeneration is to have a step in advance. So to produce a net positive, not aim to the zero, not aim to net zero, but to produce something positive to give back to the world, to give back to the planet, to give back to the people, to give back to the community as well. So this is the difference, the main difference.
Yes. And I would also say that this is also the difference, the evidence between a regenerative model and sustainability and the financially sustainable, sorry. Because you say, is there evidence that regenerative models are also financially sustainable? Well, if we take the case for Replanet, Replanet is a company that is growing exponentially. It's not just financially sustainable. It has an exponential growth. So it's even much bigger than that. And at the same time, it is also regenerative because they are completely committed to regeneration. And so regeneration is not now, it doesn't become a matter of, shall I do this, but it's going to cost me. It's like we do this because this is the right thing to do. And because it's the right thing to do, opportunities comes in automatically. Yeah, you are more credible to the market. You're more credible to your clients. Your ecosystem of partners, of suppliers, they support you even more. And this is why you create this virtuous flywheel, I would say. Okay, let me get you to a couple of questions here that are. There was one that was related to RIFO. Ecco, is a RIFO approach scalable beyond a regional or artisanal model? Could it be applied in larger industrial settings?
Could be, but I think that by using a different approach, an industrial approach, I think that you can lose the pillars of the project and you can lose the pillars about regeneration. I mean, if you organize your structure by using classical supply chain, by using classical manufacturing, you don't have the same impact. You don't have the same, the same impact of RIFO could have on people. So if you use an industrial production, is a thing, but if you use craftsmen, is another thing. And I want to tell you also that RIFO is fast-growing companies, so it is just scalable. They don't need to scale more because it's fast-growing companies, and they is recognized by Fortune. So the model is already scalable is already positive. It's just not only to regenerate environment and social. This is a very good business and is a double purpose business. So they works to gain profits, and they also works to be an activist, to struggling about fast fashion. So it's not only the concern about environment and social. They have a very solid model, solid business model.
Okay, thank you, Roberto. I'm gonna take the last question, and then Greta, you might want to jump in for the last greetings, and maybe to see a couple of other questions. So the last question I want to take is related to from Imad Fazal. So how does Replanet ensure that AI and automation used in its regenerative business model don't unintentionally reinforce extractive behaviors or inequalities, especially when scaled globally? Okay, that is it's a tough question. I would probably try to provide a bit of critical thinking into this. So, of course, we could assume that every action can have an unintentional extractive behavior. So we are not praising here for examples of companies that are 100% perfectly coherent and leaving no footprint in the world at all. This is not what we are praising. We are most likely observing and studying the emergence of virtuous behaviors that aim at creating more value to the one they abstract, which means that it's not true they do not abstract. Okay, that is the first point. The second point is that when we talk about technologies, you mentioned AI, it could be there are some unintentional extractive behaviors. At the same time, we know that there are paths. For example, recently the company has met with there are some projects where there could be understanding of the entire digital footprint for the organization and how to compensate this. So the true point is not to expect perfection, but to understand that when you have a purpose, the purpose is your leadership guide. It's the model that you refer to when you have to take a decision. And so, like in every situation, everything, it's about improving step by step. And this is basically what we observe when we spend time with the company. It's not perfection, it's a constant virtuous improvement. Let's put it this way.